All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Greg Ryder Show. If you don't know who I am, I'm a singer-songwriter, also a speaker, originally from Ontario, moved out to Alberta here, and we are using the Greg Ryder Show to highlight, different Alberta creatives and, just to find out people's journeys on how they got to where they are. So today's podcast, we're talking to a man by the name of Saad Waseem. He's a very interesting guy. He's an ultrarunner. He's always doing things that are trying to one-up and challenge himself to get better. He's got a disease that he'll talk more about because he's a professional at it, where he can't have any alcohol or fat. So he talks about growing up with the ability that, he can't drink and, can't really have any of the sweets or any of the candies or the food that we all love as kids. So he talks about what that kind of did to his mental health and kind of things growing up. So stay tuned for a very interesting episode with Saad. And it was just great getting to know him. And we've never met in person. So we were just meeting for the first time on camera. So we got to see that unfold. So hope you guys like this episode. Follow us on YouTube. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And let's jump into this episode. All right. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Greg Ryder Show. And on today's podcast, we're talking to Saad. And Saad is a very crazy individual. I've been following you on social media for a couple months now. We have a social media relationship.
Yeah.
And just watching you, you're always up in the mountains doing some running. First off, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. This is absolutely incredible. It's so much fun. And also there's you guys don't see it, but there's the cutest puppy behind the cameras right now. Maybe we can get a cut to in editing later. And
yep.
Yeah.
That's Tyler's little pooch, Rosie. Supposedly that's supposed to, how big is that supposed to get, Tyler? Give me a horse.
Oh, if only she could just stay that size forever though, just.
Oh, Rosie wants to come over.
Yeah. You heard your name, Rosie. No, she doesn't
good.
like me yet.
Hey.
She'll come around.
She'll get there.
That's okay.
She'll get there. But yeah, so you're doing ultra running, and you were just saying just before we were about to kick off, you were saying the three main areas of your life.
Right.
What do you like to focus on?
Yeah, I've always had some sort of creative, so like music, video, something like that in my life. I've had like a fitness, passion, and then I've always had sports. Mm-hmm. So there's been these three things that have just sort of mixed and matched throughout the history for me.
Yeah.
And right now I'm in the stage of doing the video stuff again.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of exciting. I'm doing the training. So I am coaching at F45.
Yep.
I'm also doing my own training. So, I got another ultra coming up next August. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a big one. Canadian death race. So we're going to try and survive that.
Now, you haven't been running for too long, right?
No, running is very new to me as a sport, running.
Okay.
I mean, I've been running my whole life, I guess, through soccer, lacrosse, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But running, I only started 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago. It was May 2022. That's when I did my first half marathon. I did the Calgary half marathon.
Yeah.
No training, nothing like that. I was just I just want to do it. I just started running. I was like, let's push for something.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, it was one of the hardest things I had done at that point. Mm-hmm. But it set me up for this fire and passion for the sport that I have today. Where now a half marathon is not a real big deal to me anymore. That's every weekend. Yeah. But it's funny how just consistency and discipline can take you places in whatever you're trying to do.
It's funny when I first quit drinking 2 years ago, I had to pour myself into something. So I poured myself into the Calgary Marathon.
Okay.
And I started training for that and I ran it. And, for me, it's I learned that as much as a huge accomplishment for me, I'm I don't think I have that burning desire to run this every single couple weeks.
Right.
I think I noticed it was kind of something I wanted to knock off.
Yeah.
But the training to get up to marathon training, I was just it takes a lot.
Did you do the full 42?
Yeah.
Wow. Congrats.
Yeah.
How'd you feel afterwards though?
Oh, it was incredible. Like just when I crossed that finish line, it was like, it was more than a race to me. It was like, I feel like I've always been kind of known as someone that like would start things and never finish it.
Right.
So for me to like do the marathon, I wrote on my social media, I told everyone I was going to do it, and I stuck with it. And then I ran through that finish line. I sprinted through that finish line.
Yeah.
I was like, this is more of like, dude, you said what you said you were going to do this, and you did it.
You followed through.
You followed through. And so it was a win for me. And it was like, okay, what's next? And then I started like looking at like other things in my life. Like, what are other things I want to follow through on?
Right. What are those things?
Oh, we can keep going on that. But it's just anything from like my endeavors, like, you know, music, releasing an album, or, you know, starting this podcast.
Yeah.
This was something that, you know, I always wanted to do, and it just wasn't coming at a time where like it felt forced.
Right.
And then, you know, I met Tyler from, you know, Rocky Grid Marketing, and it all came together, and he had a passion for editing and the behind the scenes, and I had a passion for being in front. So it just came down to timing. So it's like, again, said we were going to do the podcast. We followed through with it. We're now sitting at about 10, 12 episodes. So we're rolling.
Right. Was it two sides of the same coin? Right. Each has a different role, but you're still the same, right? Whatever, the same coin. Oh man, I love that for you. I mean, I love hearing people's stories of getting into something and the passion that it can ignite. Or hearing like how the universe takes people certain places.
Right.
And for you, I feel like maybe the running was just sort of that, what you said, it was that check mark, but it was also that like self-evidence. I can follow through a damn marathon.
Yeah.
42.2 kilometers. Like that's no joke.
Yeah.
I feel like people, you know, especially when you get into longer distances or whatever, maybe it's kind of like, oh, marathon, right? It's just like, oh.
Yeah.
No, it's like, that's a long time to run.
Yeah.
Like most people can barely run for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Try 4 to 5 hours, right? So that must have built a good chunk of resiliency. Have you had that? I mean, I'm not sure too much of your like background. Like, did you run before? Do sports or? Wow. Okay. So that was just like, let's do this.
I used to love cross country running back in the day, but like I actually quit because it caused so much anxiety that like I actually didn't like the starting. Like hearing that gun.
Yeah.
I hated the buildup, sitting on the line. I still remember being in big races like track and field and cross country. And I remember sitting at the line and like, it was the most nerve-wracking thing was waiting for that gun to go off.
Wow.
And it actually like, I actually didn't want to do it as much. Like I stopped doing when I got into high school, and then I just quit running.
Okay.
And then I just felt, when I quit drinking, I was trying to figure out a way like, okay, now that, you know, I'm not going to the bar every weekend, now that I'm not like doing all these things that aren't good for me, like what can I replace them with? And I was like, I'm just going to run a marathon. I'm just going to do it.
Just going to run a marathon.
I got up like a week and a half into like and I got up out of bed. I was out of shape. I wasn't in good space mentally. I'm like, how far can I run with no training? Probably stupid. Right. I ran 18 kilometers, literally like out of my bed.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, wait, if I can do 18 kilometers, it took me long and I was stiff for like 3 weeks. But I was like, and then I just started advancing after that.
You're just like in a coffin after a run like that. It wasn't
smart.
Yeah,
but I
know that feeling.
Mentally, I was like, I know I need to make a change. I need to make a switch. I need to make a massive permanent lifestyle change. And I'm like, let's just go run.
Wow. Well, I'm proud of you, man. That takes a lot of like self-awareness and how do you say open-mindedness, I guess, to be like, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm actually going to do it. Yeah. But for you, so like that half marathon, that kind of opened up your eyes to like what's possible for you, right?
Yeah. Well, I linked up with this running crew. We Run the World coaching. So before you do the marathon, you have that like whatever it's called, the little fair where you go around and it's all the stalls and all everyone. So there's this one booth with this gentleman named Ren who was boothing for the coaching team. He had a pair of these compression boots there, and my knee was hurting that day. Because I later found out, and I didn't know this at the time, is that once you start to taper off or like you get close to a race, like you'll feel little pains because your body's healing. So I'm like, this could be a good idea. So I hop in these boots, And he gets talking. He tells me a bit about his business, the Run Lounge. Him and his wife, Mel, they run and operate that. And so I'm like, okay, cool. After this race, I'll go check that out. I do that race. Well, I tell you what, everything's hurting after that. Just like when you did your 18K, I was in my little coffin after that. My hips were dying. Everything was just, I was just in just so much pain, but also in such a good mood too. But I decided to go check out that Run Lounge. So I go in there, hop in those boots. Absolutely just magic, man. They take like all the like lactic acid or whatever. They just help flush it through. And I'm like, oh, this is the best thing ever. And I start talking with one of the associates there. And she's like, oh, you should check out the coaching team, blah, 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 blah. Maybe get a coach. Instead of just running 100% all the time, well, maybe you need an actual plan that tells you, hey, you need to recover. Have a few hard days, but have more easy days so your body will actually condition. I'm like, wow, I never knew that. Makes so much sense, right? Long story short, I end up getting some coaching through them because I'm like, I want to do a marathon. That was my big goal. And I'm not a runner. I've always been a bigger build. I always like bodybuilding, powerlifting. I mean, in fact, if we're going to go back in the story a little ways, up until I was 16 years old or so, 15, 16, I was pretty overweight. You know, I was a bigger guy. Yeah, I played sports, but I was kind of like the, you know, the big boy tax on me kind of thing. And I just woke up one day and I was sick and tired of looking at this kid in the mirror, you know, looking at myself and being like, I'm all tubby and this and that. So I'm like, me and my buddy Trevor, who, you know, this guy is just absolute gym legend. We start working out. You know, we go to the local gym. We get taken under the wing of like other bodybuilders. They teach us all the ropes. Teach us to take the protein after the workout, to, you know, put in the 8 to 12 reps, to train to failure, to have good form. You know, they'd be the kind of guys that'd be like, you know, if you're not doing the good form, like they'll tell you, you know, or they'll tell you how to do it. Like they were strict. They're kind of like the, you know, the stereotypical, like if you were to see the Russian coach coming in kind of thing, they were like that. So they really helped solidify for us the foundations, and it helped us both lose weight, gain muscle. And, you know, we end up getting like you know, I had some abs, a little bit of abs at the time. And I was like, what? I have these, you know? Anywho, so when I went to go running, I mean, cardio was not a thing, you know? That was not something I had built up. Every kilometer was just aching. Because I just try and push a little harder. I really didn't understand or have any foundations built there to know how to even run or what to do to make the running easier. I didn't know the form. I didn't have anyone that was there just putting me under their wing. So when I found this coach and they helped me teach all this stuff, light on your toes, midsole striking, get your arms pumping, chest upright, don't close your diaphragm, don't close your lungs, right? Quick cadence. Don't worry about a long stride. Strike underneath you, not in front of you, right? You're not trying to grab the ground. You're trying to push the ground away from you. And little cues like that. So it's almost like that when I was 16 is that same sort of idea. And they helped me progress to my first marathon. So I did the Edmonton Marathon. Now, we'll just keep the story time going here while I'm on this train of thought. But like, you know, 60 days before, or maybe 45 days before, something like that, like around there, like I had COVID. So I had just knocked out for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. Like I was done. I'm losing all this peak training. Like, this is supposed to be the best training ever, right? So I'm like, whatever, 2 weeks, no big deal. I get another week of training in, recovering from that. And then I have to have this little surgery done like on my tailbone. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? Sorry, this is a week before the race. So like I'd gotten a little bit of training in, and a week before the race, I had to have this little operation. It was probably like a 1-inch incision that they had to do just above my tailbone. And I'm like, oh boy, what do I do here? So I got that done, and I go to the doctor. I'm like, I got to run this marathon. Like, can I? And he's like, I mean, you probably shouldn't, but I mean, I won't stop you. There's nothing technically that will stop you from doing this. So he prescribes me this like cream to put on there. He's like, at least this will help the chafing. I'm like, okay. So I get this cream, I load my butthole up with it, and like we just go and we run this marathon. And oh my gosh, like I was in for it. You know, I completely bonked at like 30K. I'm so dehydrated. I didn't bring any water with me. for a first marathon, for anyone ever doing their first marathon, bring some water with you. Okay, don't like don't just go jump into it.
You didn't have race stops though, like tables.
We did. We had the
You just didn't take any?
aid stations. I did take them, but it was not enough. Okay, I needed so much more water because it's different if you're running fast enough that you can get to each one at like 12 to 15 minutes. Yeah. If you're like whatever, really like at that level. But for me, where I was taking like probably 18 to 20 minutes between aid stations, that was not enough. You need a little bit of water at least every 15 minutes, right. As I learned later on. But you know what? Moral of the story is I still got it done. I learned what that mental toughness was to really say my body has nothing more to give. So what? I'm going to still keep going. I'm going to keep pushing. And that became my mantra. Keep pushing. Yeah. Keep going. No matter what has happened to you, no matter what is happening to you, keep your eyes forward because that race, the finish line is not behind you. The finish line is in front of you. And so every step you need to take is to get you closer to that. And even if you have a mishap, like you miss an aid station, which happened to me at 26K, and then I didn't get water until 32K. Well, you got to deal with it. What are you going to do? Cry about it? Yeah. I just really dehydrated and had to walk for a little bit, but that's fine, right? We'll keep going. We'll get it done.
It's a mental, like, I agree. Like there was times running where it's like, I knew that there was pockets when I knew I was going to get really down on myself, and then there was the highs. So it's just like if I was in a down and I could feel myself wanting to stop, I'm just like, you just got to keep one foot in front of the other because you're going to hit a good pocket soon, and you're going to start to like pace. Yes. And there was this one guy that like I was running with, and like we were kind of like running on the other sides of the road, but like I'd look over at him. And I'm like, this guy's like my guy. This guy's like, he's my pacing guy. Yeah. We keep looking at each other, and I'm like, you good? Yeah. You good? And he's just like, I'm good. So then we find as the race continued, we're like, we're sticking with each other. So we were just chatting about life, running this marathon together. And oh man, if it wasn't for him, like, I don't know if I could have like mentally just kept going by myself. Because like, talking with someone and kind of like, he would start picking up pace, or I'd carry his pace. And it was awesome to kind of like, we're going off each other and building off each other. And we ran the marathon together, and then we were just chilling after, just talking. And beautiful. It was his 8th one. Oh my God. It was my first one. And he's like, what's your goal for finishing? I'm like, dude, I just want to finish under 4.5. Yeah. And we finished in 4:19.
There you go. Holy man. That's a really good time. Yeah. Jeez, especially for having just never really ran before.
Yeah, then, no coach. I just did Nike running plan on the app. And I literally typed
shout out Nike running plan.
Nike running club. And I literally just went on there, and they told me to run 6 days a week, and I ran 6 days a week.
Oh my God. Wow. Yeah. Well, good for you for sticking to that plan and getting through that. That actually reminds me too, on the Edmonton Marathon. So I got up to the starting line, and I bumped into, one of the friends on my team there, his brother was running it. And so I ran into his brother. And he's like, we're talking, we're chatting. Oh yeah, we're sub 4, sub this. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So why don't we run together? So we run this whole race, like basically together, right up until probably 25K or so. At 25K, he had to sort of walk for a little bit. I'm not sure what happened. Something was going on. He's like, I just need a little break. So okay, I'll keep going. And I was like, oh, poor guy. I hope he didn't, completely bonk out. Fast forward 30-something K when I bonk. I see my guy Reed just running by. He's like, yeah, Saad, let's go. And he was just that motivation I needed at that time. I'm like, we got to keep going. And so the struggle bus continued. So it's amazing those connections you can make. Yeah. Because once we were done, actually, while we were talking, same thing, him and I were talking. I was like, I was looking for a hockey team, just a beer league, kind of whatever, men's league kind of thing. And he said, oh, I got one spot on my team. I couldn't find any spots, so I was going to free agent. But he said, we got one spot. So all right, cool. After the marathon happens, whatever, hockey season starts, we start playing hockey together. Nice. Next thing you know, a little bit of friendship. He actually lives near me, as I find out. So we do some long runs together. We're going to go do some trail runs now. And I'm just like, it's crazy how just that one little moment there started this incredible friendship. And somebody who also in training-wise is pushing me now. Because I see his Stravas, and I'll be like, he did another run today? Yeah. Okay, go strap my shoes on, I guess. And got to keep up to read
Yeah.
or whatever.
I
Hopefully he
love that.
feels the same way about me if I do something.
I'm sure.
And he's not just like, oh yeah, I got him.
No.
Hopefully he's like, I got to strap those shoes on. Keep going.
No, I feel like it's you almost I didn't have that, and I didn't have a running guy.
Yeah.
So it was just like I pretty much be looking at my old Stravas, or I'm just going. I'm just like, man, I do not want to run today. I got no one that's like motivating me. I just got like this like, just go.
Yeah.
Just go. But yeah, it's a great activity, and it's so good for your mental health, and it's so good for just like, it helped me so much at a time in my life when like I was really searching for like meaning,
Right.
searching for purpose. And like, it was such a good thing to kind of keep me on that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How do you find like the motivation, like you mentioned with the Strava, to like get those shoes on, right? If you gotta we gotta do that run. Like where was that drive? How did you stay consistent too, I guess?
Honestly,
that's where my mind goes. Like, I want to know what your mindset was.
honestly, it was just like, I just knew it was the triggers. It was alcohol triggers.
Right.
It was like, I just knew that when I was running, when I was doing something healthy, I wasn't thinking about like tearing down my body. It was honestly just like, I knew that if I got out for a run today, my day is going to be so much better for the rest of the day. Like, I'm not going to be sitting in my bed just like thinking about my life or my decisions. Like, if I go out and run, my endorphins are going to be triggering, flying.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to have a really healthy meal later tonight.
Right.
I'm probably going to like have a good sleep. And I was just like, just use these runs as like your daily, in the days when I wasn't running were some of my worst days, because like all I wanted to do was run and didn't want to rest.
Right.
And I was just like sitting in my bed. I'm like, I'm aching like crazy. But like I'd maybe do some cross training.
Right.
But it was just like, and it's funny because there was actually something that I heard about after, and it's called like active, like, I'm not quite sure the name, but it's actually what people do when people are going into recovery. So it's like active based recovery.
Right.
Where if someone is looking to, get away from something negative, they pour themselves into something positive, like exercise. So it's actually like a thing that people will do. And I didn't know that. I was just like, okay, I need to replace going out for drinks and hanging out at the bar and doing, because that was my life with music, with country music, playing at so many bars. I was like, I need to replace that. And then, yeah, so I was doing that without even knowing I was doing it.
Yeah. Our good friend Jamie, actually, I think was on here too. He talks about that because
Mm-hmm.
running is a huge part of his life, and fitness in general.
Yeah.
I guess it keeps him, it replaced that, what you were saying.
Yeah.
Now, do you run as much nowadays?
No.
Okay.
I'm getting back into it again.
Yeah.
And I realized how much I missed it, but like I'm doing more of hybrid stuff now. Like
Okay.
I want to be able to like lift weights and still run.
Yes.
Just because I felt I was one or the other. I was always a big athlete, like, powerlifting and bodybuilding,
Right.
and I build up huge, but then I couldn't run for 5 kilometers.
Yes.
Then when I started doing the marathon, now I could run, but I can't bench press or squat.
Right.
So now I'm almost like, how do I do a balance between a hybrid where I can still run far and get behind a squat rack?
Hybrid build. I have a whole thing in my mind about that, but I wanted to ask you, kind of go to this really cool relationship between exercise and sobriety, for staying sober, or for me, like feeling fulfillment through sobriety. Because as someone who could never drink, I always
Right.
felt somewhat out of place in social situations. People are having a glass of wine, even if it's at dinner. I mean, it doesn't bother me as much, but like, if we're going out, it's always go out for drinks. Or even if we're going bowling, then it's like everyone else is hammered.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why are we going out?
Yeah.
If it's to really connect, then shouldn't we just be talking more or doing something like that? And as I got into running or even fitness in the gym, where there's just this like inert sobriety that surrounds it, because you can't be good at these sports if you're drinking all the time. Sure, maybe once in a while you'll see or whatever, but most of the people on my team, like if they have to go out, it's non-alcoholic beer or soda.
Yeah.
Because if you drink the night, like even, like on a recovery day, well then your next day is ruined for training. Also for connecting with people, When I go like, let's go on a hike or let's go on a run, what do we do the whole time? We talk.
Yeah.
Like this, we get to explore each other's energies, our stories. And I feel so much more connected to that person compared to like if we were to go out and like, I don't know, just like hit the town or something. It's like, I don't know who you are at the end of this. I know what you can do, and that's drink a lot. But like outside of that, what's your story? What's your deal? Can I even trust you?
All right, I just want to pause this conversation quickly just to talk about one of our dear sponsors, Rocket Grid Marketing. They are an incredible Alberta-based digital marketing company, and they focus on growing brands. They focus on hitting business goal needs and whatever your business may need to take you to the next level. So if you want to check out more about what they do, head to rocketgrid.ca and see what they do.
Do you have ambitious business goals but not sure where to get started? We've got you covered. Rocket Grid Marketing, your integrated marketing experts.
You know,
it's a great point, because it's almost like you found your crew in like the exercise, because like 100% it's like now I like to surround myself with people that are like wanting to one up themselves, if it's business or if it's fitness, or it's like I'm always just surrounding myself with people who are trying to one up their lives and just keep getting better. And like that, you know, that's what I love to like surround myself with, right? And yeah, for me in alcohol, it's just crazy how, like you said, like you not having it in your life, like the amount of times that any activity came up, it's like, how can I bring drinking into this?
Right.
And it's like, oh, we're going bowling. Okay. Or like, we're going hiking. You'd be with friends that would bring a bottle of Jameson or a bottle, and it's just like they're hiking with, and I'm just like, holy crap. Like this is just so... everyone does it. Like, like it's just, and like for so long, I was just like, you know, alcohol is just normal. It's common. Everyone does this. Everyone gets drunk. Everyone brings alcohol everywhere. And then you get on the other side of that, and you realize, man, the people that are at the top of their games are not using alcohol.
100%. 100%. I mean, even within music, I mean, look at like, you know, Jack Harlow, for example, someone who's I find super inspiring.
Yeah.
You know, any of the people who are taking their business or career seriously are going to have, at the very least, some sort of control over that consumption, right? Because if they're inebriated, I mean, that's where mistakes are going to happen.
Yep.
They may say something they shouldn't, you know, they may do something they shouldn't,
Yep.
or, you know, they're not focused on what needs to happen. Maybe they're not able to put out the records they need to make.
Yeah.
Right. Or whatever it is. So I think it extends just in every aspect of life. Like if you want to be the best at what you're doing, you need to be the best at you, you know, because if you're not your best, how are you going to do your best?
Absolutely.
So that resonates with me 100%. And there's, you know, the saying, it's like birds of a feather flock together. So that's where, you know, I feel like the universe has kind of brought like you into my life, or Jamie into my life, or whoever, all the other friends who do practice like sobriety, or at the very least are like interested in doing things with me without alcohol. Yeah. You know, going for runs or stuff like that, or golf. It's actually been a good one too. Like, you know, aside from some homies that bring cart beers, and that becomes a whole other issue, because then it's not about the golf. I mean, right at that point, I'm just like, how many bogeys are we gonna get today? You know,
that was a hard one to like take alcohol out of, like if you, because it's so common to like, you know, everyone just gets wasted on the golf course, and then when you're all of a sudden out there with three guys that drink, like, so I had this summer, my buddies came out for this big bachelor party. Yeah. So 16 dudes from Ontario that love to drink, and I'm the only sober guy. I was so nervous and anxious to go, because I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to turn down like literally shots at every single hole.
Yes.
And like I knew I was already like a year and a half sober, so I knew I could do it. Yeah. But just the having to explain yourself to every single person that says, yo, you don't want to drink? It's like, nah, man, I'm good. I'm not. Come on, man. Like, we're just having a drink. It's like, I'm good. I had to explain myself like a couple times, and then like finally I was just like, I just told the group, I was like, hey guys, like I don't drink, so like I'm gonna hang out with you guys for a bit. Like later tonight, I'll get a good meal, but then I'm going home. Yeah. Because like it just showed me that I'm just like, this is not my life anymore.
100%.
It's not my life. And like, you know, these guys are all probably pretty successful in what they do. And they're in the financial realm and they're Toronto guys, but it's just like, for me, it was just like, I'm doing something different with my life and I need to have clarity.
Yes.
And I need to know, kind of have a plan on what I'm trying to do.
Huge. Well, I mean, kudos to you for having the courage to speak up, firstly. I know exactly how that feels. Because, like, any social situation, for me, there's always either the alcohol or the food issue that comes to me because I can't eat fats. And so if we go out for, like, a restaurant, I'm like, oh, well, I can't eat any of this stuff. I'm just going to have a Diet Coke and chill for a little bit. Maybe I'll have a little salad. Then it's always looked at me like, you know, is this guy really for real? Like there's that doubt, you know, and that's what I don't like. Yeah. Like, do you not trust me when I say like, I don't want to drink or I can't drink? You know, why should I have to explain myself? Exactly. That's the thing. Yeah. Why not just take it for what it is? Yeah. Right. It's not like I'm making an excuse.
Yeah. How's that mic doing? Do you want to?
Yeah, I'm a little fidgety, I think. Also, it's kind of flopping up on me.
Okay. No worries.
I was trying to.
I was wondering if it was like actually like it was.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
See, it slowly comes up.
But what you said there is why do you have to explain yourself?
I'm
like,
a fidgeter. I just can't help it. Like it's in front of me.
I wasn't sure.
I'm just like
sure
holding
it was coming back up. I was like, maybe I should ask him just to see. Okay. Oh, as long as it's not bugging you.
That's okay. I don't know. It gives me some sort of comfort. Actually, I don't know. It's just just a strong piece of metal in front of me. I'm like, yeah, this is sturdy. That's what's going on in my mind. Well, this is a sturdy handle.
It's a sturdy.
Oops! I accidentally hit a button though. Hopefully that didn't mess anything up. I hit the plus button.
He's good.
It's okay.
But yeah, I like what you said there with why do you have to explain yourself? And I think like, you know, now that it's been 2 years for me, it's like I don't have to explain myself.
Yes.
But so yeah, that was an interesting fact that you said that like I found out obviously pre-podcast that you're allergic to alcohol and you're also allergic to fat. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, firstly, I apologize for doing your form at like 2 a.m. in the morning last night before this podcast. Where it was like interesting facts about you. I was like, oh shit, I totally forgot. I probably should have told them a couple of things. But yeah, I was born with the condition hyperchylomicronemia. It essentially means that I cannot eat fats and I can't drink alcohol. It's a deficiency in the enzyme lipoprotein lipase that's secreted from the pancreas. So I have just a very small amount of it, which means that, I can have little itsy bits of fat, like the natural amount that would be in like wheat or something, or like grains. But I can't eat more than that because what will happen is if I eat too much fat and my pancreas tries to digest it, it can cause a pancreatic attack, and that's fatal. You know, I try and think of it like, you know, a water bottle maybe. Like that's my pancreas. It's got like a tiny little hole at the bottom because I have a deficiency. You guys, you just got a pipe. You just flow straight through. Gotcha. You lucky bastards. So I can manage the flow and regulation of the drain if I just eat a fat-free diet. But if I have things like, nuts, for example, high in fat, oils, or alcohol, which becomes fat through the liver, then this will start to fill up. And when that cup overflows, that's where, I'm essentially dead. If I have a pancreatic attack, it's a very low chance of survival. Mm-hmm. You know, I'd have to be like, doorstep away from the hospital kind of thing, where they'd have to get really ahead of it. Yeah. I'm not even sure what the consequences would be if I did survive because of the damage that would be caused to my pancreas. I mean, that's also where like diabetes and things come from, same area. So anyways, that's the backstory. I've had that my whole life.
So you've known about that for your whole life.
I was sick as a baby. Okay. So they were just doing all these tests and they took me so I was born in Pakistan. We lived in Africa for a little bit. And so we'd go back and forth from England because there's only one person in the world, one doctor that had even heard about this or like had some sort of like, specialty, if you will. So we would go back and forth from there and they'd do the tests and like they would, thank God my mother, she's the reason why I'm alive. She has some medical experience. She went it's like pre-med and things like that. So she was able to really understand what the issues were and how to find creative solutions just through diet. So we've never had to take medication. which is just the greatest blessing. And also for the doctors that were like kind of, I've been in a long-term research. They've been researching every year I get tests. So for them, they're like mind boggled. Like, how's this kid alive? How is he doing everything he's doing? You know? So they would very in-depth ask my mother, what are you doing? Or ask me, how am I doing? What am I doing? And just through diet, we were able to control that. When we came to Canada, there was one doctor who was colleagues or friends with that Hammersmith doctor, London, England doctor. So he took me on and he started doing all the tests and trying to help monitor me. And he was like a specialist, like a heart specialist for children. So he was just like, you know, he's got to be the top of his game kind of guy, you know, like not just some run of the mill, like he knew his things. And even for him, it was just like, well, I mean, what's working? Just keep doing it, you know? So, yeah, I've been very fortunate to be able to do everything I'm doing. And I thank that all to my mother. And, you know, it's a mind boggle for sure. And we'll see whatever the research ends up saying at the end of the day after the 20 plus years they've been documenting me. But at the moment, it's just been controlling my diet and no fats, no alcohol. Yeah. Just fun. That's
just
it.
fun.
Just fun.
It's so interesting, man. Like I was saying, like when you have a health problem, like it really is like, that's your number one problem you're trying to like, you know, like I have so much respect for just even like athletes, you know, that are, you know, battling like type 1 diabetes, but they're at their top level. Like the amount of just preparation that goes into, you know, these lives, especially your life. And like, it's, I don't have that. So it's just like, I never really learned. I couldn't say that my diet, like obviously I know that diet and food affects so much, but it's like I never got to a point where I'm just like I dialed it in, right? Where it's like, oh man, like I know if I can cut this out or that kind of stuff, but like just the sense of preparation that like you have to go through, and anyone with a health problem, it's crazy. But I guess it's just something you're used to now.
It's discipline. It taught me discipline really early on. You know, everything from like, no, Saad, you can't eat that. Or it was kind of heartbreaking. I mean, I look back at some times where it's like, you know, go to birthday parties and, you know, I'd have to bring my own little fat-free cake with me or something because I can't eat what the other kids are eating. Or going to school and I'd have like my special meals. Like, you know, I wouldn't get any of the snacks or this and that. Halloween, I can't eat half of it. It's all chocolate. So I'd just be picking apart like the stuff that I can't have, you know, to go into the movies, can't have the Skittles, can't have the popcorn. So it taught me a lot of mental toughness early on without me knowing it. Wow. And it's stuff that I am thankful that I have, because with the sports that I'm in now, and I feel like just for life, having some ability to be resilient is going to set you up for success. I mean, if I look at like me now, you know, the discipline with food that I have, it's because when I was younger, it'd be looking at the ingredient list of every food in the damn grocery aisle. My mom would be like, read that. Does it have fat? Does it not have fat? Look at the ingredients. Like, it says 0 gram, but it says oil. How does that make sense? She's like, there's obviously some rounding up or rounding down going on, or some lying. Pam, the spray, is fat-free on the label, but it is literally vapor oil. How is that fat-free? So maybe in a tiny quantity it's fat-free, but who's using Pam in a tiny quantity? No, that thing's like sprayed around, up and down on the bottom, like, you know, so that, or going to restaurants, talking to the chef, like if I was to get something specially made and making sure they understood, you do not make a mistake here. One time when I was at a hockey tournament, one of the chefs put margarine because he thought margarine was fat-free. Oh, it's not oil. It's not butter. Oh, it's margarine. And I was like, it's margarine. And we're like, I've already eaten like half of this dish. Like, am I going to die? And the chef's just like, well, I hope you don't. I'm like, me too. I was like 15 or something and in a hockey tournament. And so it was just a really sketchy, scary moment where it's like, thankfully I was okay because, you know, everything else I had done in my life at that point kept this cup nice and empty. So when I did have that moment of like accident, I had like a safety blanket to work with.
Did that cause like any like self-esteem issues, like kind of growing up as a kid?
Yeah, huge, very like in my head, very like, I would say even unconfident. Like I didn't really like who I was. I felt like I hated that I had to live this existence so different from everybody.
Right.
You know, I felt misunderstood. I felt like I didn't belong because I grew up in a small town. It was an all-white town. There's also no brown people. So like everyone else was different. To me, like, oh, there's a ghost in this studio right now. Oh man, that door just opened by itself. Anyways, it's probably going to be the most, the worst podcast you've done just because I'm just grabbing onto stuff and like calling out the dogs in the corner. Anyone who's listening to this has no idea what's going on. They're just in their car right now, just listening.
Doors are opening, dogs are, they just don't know what kind of set we're rocking here. They got just doors opening, dogs running on.
They're like,
we're in the jungle, actually. We're actually in the jungle. Like,
I'm just going to put on a nice chill podcast, you know, a couple of cool guys. It sounds like, and I'm just a menace. But yeah, no, it was a lot of like feeling of just wanting to fit in. And now that I'm older, I realize that, you know what? I don't want to fit in. I don't want to be like everyone else.
Nice.
Because I realize how lame it truly is, you know, to put it lightly. I see people like from that era and I look at what they've become now and I'm like, man, what happened? I always looked up to you, you know? I thought you were the cool guy or like, I thought that's how you're supposed to live, but it's like, you're nothing. You're like, what happened? You know, it's so sad, so heartbreaking. And so now I'm just like, you know, I don't even care. Like, I don't want to fit in. I'm going to do my own thing. Like, I don't trend chase that much anymore too. Like in terms of like my social medias, like I'm not hopping on viral sounds. Like I just don't care. My TikTok would beg to differ, but nobody go on my TikTok, please. I'm literally just stealing other people's content on there and I do my own. That's for a whole other reason. I'm trying something out. So let's not, don't search it up. It is Happy Not Saad if you do, but don't go on there. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Just like we're not going to talk about your music career.
Yeah, that's right. Never. Watch us just dive into that too. But yeah, so you know what? Now this is this whole kind of moment in my life is I just want to be me. I want to have people around me who share similar passions, similar visions maybe, or just similar lifestyles. Yeah. Right? Like someone like you who's like bettering themselves. Sobriety. Sober people are the best. Have you met a shitty sober person? Not often. Maybe me, I'm probably the closest. But like outside of that, like, you know? So.
No, I absolutely. I know. It's so crazy. Like you think back on the people you were trying to, like you said, the people you were trying to keep up with are not the people that you want to keep up with nowadays. Like it's just like it's so interesting to look back and like, you know, for me it was just like I was always just trying to fit in with alcohol. Like I was the party guy, I was the party animal, the guy that could drink and chug beers, and that was kind of like my identity. And it was just like that's what kind of kept me on the top of everyone's mind. It's just like, oh, Greg's the guy that wants to, you want to go to a party, you want to go to a bar, you want to go to a sporting event, you want to go to a concert and get drunk, Greg's your guy. So it was like, and then I just look, and now I look back and I'm just like, man, there's still like people in their 30s that are still drinking like they're in their 20s. Right. And I'm just like, yeah, dude, there's something bigger there now. Right. Like, you know.
Do you feel like, you know, that kind of almost, I don't want to say made you into a caricature, but you were maybe like seen as that? Like that was just all you were, was just a party guy. Like no one really kind of went any deeper.
I didn't let anyone get deeper. Like it was that. It was like I kept people away. Right. And it was like the alcohol was just a thing that kind of like, people would always say to me, because like they'd be like, wow, Greg, like, because you're like this kind of jock that you work out a lot, you play sports, you drink. When I actually start talking to you, it's like you're way different than I would have thought. And like I got really insecure about my body and stuff because I felt like people never got a chance to get to know me because they saw this big guy that was just like, you know, big into hockey, big into sports. And no one really got to know me because I was just like kind of that guy.
Right. You kept people away almost with this like shield
Yeah.
of like this persona. And that relates to me in a way too. You know, I never really, I'd always just try and maybe, I don't want to say imitate, but do what I could just to sort of have a sense of belonging, maybe. You know, hang out with the guys, kind of the quiet guy maybe in the back. Or, you know, I started to learn jokes. I would like watch videos of like Russell Peters or some comedians, and I'd just try and become like a funny guy. Or I'd try and just like be able to communicate with people and just, I don't know, maybe be like personable or something of a nature like that. I didn't realize at the time it was really being a people pleaser, right? So I became liked. I got that. I started feeling a little bit of sense of belonging because everyone liked me, right? It's like, oh, Saad's, you know, he's chill. You know, he doesn't complain. He doesn't, you know, make a huss, you know. He is, you know, he's chill. He'll be there. He's reliable.
Yeah.
You know, so there was a lot that came out of that where, one, I realized there's some ingenuine relationships, maybe people taking advantage of me for the sake that, like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. And then after that, it's kind of like, oh, I was not really being me either. You know, who was I? What was I doing? I was just trying to fit in. I was just trying to, I don't know, be with the guys or maybe be invited to the party or whatever. And eventually, you do. Because Saad, like, he's just stealing comedians' jokes and saying them at parties, and people would laugh like, wow, he's so funny. They don't know I plagiarized it all. To this day, I don't think they even know that I just like copy pasted.
Imagine nowadays with ChatGPT.
Oh man, what I could have done. I would be the most popular kid in school.
You had a full 45-minute special. Like, Saad's here, what is he gonna do? Hey, I'm here.
Let me pull up my phone. ChatGPT.
Jokes about a party where I'm the only one sitting in the corner. I can't drink.
Yeah, that's right.
Fire me off 15 of the funniest jokes.
I remember this one joke I had. It was about like cooking rice on the barbecue, and it was just this. It was a bit that Russell Peter had done. I remember saying this thing about, like, oh, I saw my dad cooking rice on the barbecue the other day, and then they just right, and they just like all laugh, ha ha ha, and I'll be like, yeah, never happened. My dad's not dumb. Like, you know?
Imagine just putting rice and all falls through.
Yeah,
like
so okay, I guess that is what it is. But you know, that's where things like, you know, video games or music or video or creative outlets or mountain biking or trying to skateboard would come into play. I feel like that's where I really truly was myself, you know, because I never had to please anyone.
What I appreciate that is because you didn't have alcohol, it's like you almost had to find more interesting ways to like, you know, you had to find like cool new ways, right? New things to do.
Right.
Because you didn't have the normal escape or the normal numbing like 100%. Most of us had in that age, right?
100%.
And like, I'm sure, you tried skateboarding, you tried all these different things. It's just like, it's a totally different life when you can't do alcohol.
It is. Actually, it really is. Also, because you have so much more time, right?
Yeah.
You know, you didn't waste a whole day partying.
Yeah.
Right? Or a weekend, which is a lot of people wasting the entire weekend just partying.
Yeah.
I get an extra 2 days every month, 8 days. Call that in a year. What's that? What's the math? 96 days? Wait, no, I didn't do that right, did I?
I'm just agreeing. I have no idea.
I think I think I did it right. What did I just say? 2 times 4 is 8 times 12 is 96. You almost have an extra 100 days.
Wow.
Think about what you can do with 100 days.
Yeah.
Put that in minutes and hours. I'm not going to even try, but like...
Think how many cold tub sessions that is.
Right, 100%. Too many. So that was a big part of it. And I was lucky my parents always were supportive and encouraging of me trying new things. Hockey, lacrosse, soccer. Oh, go mountain bike. Oh, try and hit some dirt jumps really badly. Do that. Or skateboard or fail to skateboard. Just failure everywhere. I was constantly failing at things. I was not that good at hockey. I was a decent goalie at soccer, but I got sick of that and started playing offense. And then I was horrible because I only knew how to kick it long distances. So I tell you what, like, I didn't get a single goal in like 4 years but that's okay, right? So just failing. I was not gifted at skateboarding at all. Even mountain biking and biking, I'm not very gifted at, but I just kept doing it. I kept doing all these things that I sucked at so much. And I don't know where it came from back then. But now I'm like thankful for that because it taught me to just keep going and to take L's as lessons and not as failures.
Right.
And you're not going to win all the time. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And to build multiple skills will always trump somebody who's just good at one skill. You know, a jack of all trades is better than like whatever, a master of one. Because a master of one is a master of none.
Right. Master
I think.
of one is a master. Yeah.
That's the quote. But so.
There was always that thing though, like I was always envious of people that could pick one thing though. Yeah. Because of my ADHD was like, I played all the sports. And like, I'm just like, man, if I just focused on one,
imagine
I could be in the NHL.
Yeah.
Because I was playing every sport, but it was funny. Like, it's like, don't be afraid of the guy that practices 10,000 kicks once. Be scared of the guy that practices one kick 10,000 times.
Yes. Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, right. I can't stick with something for 10,000 kicks.
Yeah. There is always that one guy. Like I had like a friend, Patrick Zubik, and this guy was so disciplined with his training. He was a hockey goalie, and man, he took it really far. Like he played like collegiate level, and then he played for like a Canadian team and some stuff like that. And I was like, wow, like you know what? Like I remember this kid putting in that work when none of us ever did.
Yeah.
You know, like he would be running that 5K in the morning, and the rest of us was sleeping in and just going to school and being doofuses or whatever. Yeah. So there is definitely that. And if you want to be the greatest at one thing, then sure, I guess so. Yep. If you know that, if you're fortunate enough to say like, I want to go to the chow and like, that's just what you want to do, then, you know, do it.
People find it. Like I went to school with Ryan Ellis and Mark Vizentine. Mark Vizentine got drafted to Arizona Coyotes, and Ryan Ellis, he's been in the NHL for 10, 12 years now.
Wow.
And same thing. It's like you knew he was going somewhere because of his dedication at a young age.
Yeah.
Like we go over to his house when we were like 8, 9 years old, and he's like, "Oh, I can't go to bed until I hit 100 wrist shots to the top right corner." And I was like, "Whoa." I'm okay if I just hit 4 in the middle of the net.
That's right. If I hit the net.
That's good for me. That's enough practice for one day.
Yeah.
But like some people just are just like, this is what I was put on this earth to do. And I think always figuring out the purpose in my life was always, I had put such a heavy weight on my shoulders, trying to figure out like what was I meant to do. And music was later in my life, and all these things came later. And I was the same way. I stumbled through so many sports and careers and this, because I'm like, I never could figure out what I was really trying to do.
Right.
And it was just like, it was hard for many years. And alcohol was a sense for me to kind of, just kind of numb some things. And kind of like, I didn't like being sober because that's when the chatter in my brain was the worst.
Right.
So I would just be thinking and thinking about the future. And then, oh man, I got to do this. How am I going to get here? Screw it. I'm going out for a beer. I'm going to get lost with a couple buddies down at a bar. And like, we don't have to think about the future there.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, man, it's crazy that how much we've just, kind of came to where we are now.
Do you think like, well, I guess there's, you kind of hit something there about sometimes the discovery of purpose is the purpose, because you're not knowing, maybe it's just a part of the journey. Because maybe in order for you to get to where you need to go or to actually do your purpose, you have to do all these other things, because it's something that you can't just, you can't do 100 wrist shots to get good at. Maybe that's just not how it works. Maybe there's a step A, B, C, D in your life trajectory that has to happen before you can say, well, now we're ready to go to the chow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Like it could have been like, maybe you had to get sober. Maybe you had to go through all this stuff to like become this incredible human you are today. As much as I hate to frame it in that sense, but like perhaps that's a part of your journey. Perhaps you doing all these different things was a huge role for you to develop these different skills so you could play the part in your life that you want to now, which is who you are, right?
I think the fact that I was able to go through all the drinking and all this stuff is going to help me to relate to the men and the people that I do want to help, because I've been to both sides of the coin.
Right.
I've been to that side where it's like I'm maybe teaching people or trying to inspire people that are living that kind of life, but it's like if you've never lived that life, then you can't relate. You were never a partier, Greg. It's like, oh, buddy, let me bring out some old videos.
Right.
But yeah, no, I love it, man. And for who you are nowadays, and like I love that you. And I want to leave you with a couple questions. One question, but you're now getting big into ultra running, and you discovered that kind of purpose through just stumbling in different things. Like, what's some advice that you would give to your younger self, like 16-year-old Saad that's just kind of like lost and trying to figure out, like maybe there's someone listening to this that is trying to fit in. Like, like what would you say to those guys or women?
Well, one thing is like, embrace the pain. Don't run from it. Because if you run from it, it will catch up to you and it will bite you in the butt harder than if you were to just fight it right away or deal with it. And a part of me really getting into running was kind of battling those demons and those traumas and things that deep-seated to my youngest age. They would come out in the moments where my body was completely just trashed. And there's perhaps some healthier ways to do it than to go to the complete failure point of your body. But I'd bottled so much stuff up. I'd put so much armor around me that I had to get attacked constantly by myself in order to break that shell, in order to really, truly understand what it was that I was feeling. I was never encouraged to feel. As a young man, especially in this small town, that we were never encouraged to feel. It was very much so like, be a man kind of thing. Stop being a pussy. That's the big one, you know? No. Be a pussy. Like, feel, and don't be scared of that. And if it hurts, then maybe it's important. Maybe you need to use that in order to propel you to where you need to go. Pain is fuel. And pain is also a lesson, and it can also be an indicator of what's happening or what is to come. So, if you're doing something in life that's causing you pain, causing you harm, drinking, right? It's causing you pain. I would imagine that must have been a reason that you stopped. If it wasn't, if it was all cheeky dory, then, well, you probably wouldn't have gone sober.
It was just knowing that I was worth so much more. It was knowing that I had so much more potential that I wasn't tapping into because I just kept running. I kept using this as a numbing factor.
Right.
And it's like, what kind of man and what kind of entrepreneur leader can I be if I finally get rid of this?
And what are you numbing? Right? It's a good question. Is it a pain? Is it like, that's another thing you have to answer.
Yep.
Right? Because that's perhaps even worse than maybe running from it, is numbing it.
Yep.
Because in a way, I feel like if you numb the pain, you're making it stronger. You know how they say like in hospitals, they have those super viruses or whatever, right? Because or whoever the doctors get such a good immunity just from being around the weak stuff that they get all the horrible viruses. I feel like that's what it's kind of like when you numb the pain, right? Yeah. So, and this is something, not to speak for anyone who's gotten sober. For what I've heard from like you, even just briefly, or like from Jamie or other friends I've had, is this freedom in a way. Feels like, did you feel like you had a weight off your shoulders?
100%.
Right. Did you feel like there was chains or something that just, and
that's our podcast wrap up sound.
Yeah.
Rosie.
That's right, Rosie.
That's amazing.
No, that's so, in a way that would be one of my kind of advices is, so if you could imagine early on, if we knew how to do what we do now, which is like to actually deal with what we're feeling, imagine how much stress we could have avoided. Like, I wonder that. Obviously no regrets or anything, everything, regrets maybe, but like, I can't change the past is what I'm trying to say, but I can change the future. And that's what I have, That's what I have my focus on. But if I was to tell 16-year-old Saad, it's, yeah, man, embrace that pain, use it to make you better. In a sense, I did when I first started going to the gym, but I felt like that was maybe surface level, you know? That was just more the ego. I wanted to look good and feel good. Fair enough. Everyone does. But there's more to that, right? You should be spiritually good. You should heal yourself spiritually and mentally too, as a part of that. Like dive into those things that cause you like anxiety or trigger you or maybe, you know, make you uncomfortable at times and conquer them. Yeah.
Love it.
Conquer them.
Awesome, dude. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
This is so much fun.
Yeah, dude.
I feel like if we do another episode, we should be in ice plunges.
Okay.
Yeah. Deal?
We'll talk.
Yeah.
That's an hour, though.
I mean, we'll moderately cold.
Hour to plunge. Be like,
maybe we'll
Hey,
go
Saad.
in and out of the sauna.
hey, Saad. What's up, Saad? But yeah, dude.
Actually, that'd be a funny one to see how long we could go before
Yeah.
just everything just
Yeah.
breaks down.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be fun.
Awesome. Well, where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, Instagram. So it's Happy Not Saad. That's my fitness page. If you're interested in filmmaking, you can go to Happy Day Films. So that's a new endeavor that I'm starting right now, just so I can sort of separate the worlds.
Yeah.
As well as because I want to make movies. So I figure, well, I should probably put some juice into that. Outside of that, you can find me out on these streets. No, I'm kidding. Just find me on there. That's probably the best.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thanks for coming, man.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy your big old ultra run coming up.
Oh boy, I will.
120 kilometers.
Yes, and 4.5K elevation. So
Love it. Okay, brother.